Welcome to the No Name Music Cast. To follow us on Instagram, go to No Name Music Cast Podcast. To send us an email, it's nonamemusiccast@gmail.com. And to visit our website, go to nonamemusiccast.com. Now, on with the show. Hello and welcome, everybody. Welcome to the No Name Music Cast. My name's Tim, and this is
Joy.
And here we are at the top of the show. Joy has been having some fun this afternoon with fans of the show. I know how these things are. You know, we sort of step outside of our safe podcasting world.
We may have a person in the UK who's working on some official No Name Music Cast press release. I don't know. What do you call it, Tim?
So sort of a person on the street type thing. I don't know.
Keep your ears and eyes ready. Something's going to happen. All right, Tim. What's your music news?
Okay, so this is not so much music news, but it's an article I stumbled across this week. And now the article itself is really a fluff piece, but it was hilarious in the way that it was presented. So here in the United States, we've just had Thanksgiving. And then we've got Christmas coming up. I think by the time you get this, it will be Christmas or thereabouts. And it's very traditional for those who celebrate Christmas to eat turkey, especially in England. And likewise, Thanksgiving in the US, the turkey is like the big food that you would eat. So it was musicians who refused to eat turkey on Thanksgiving. So basically, it's a list of musicians who are vegetarian. So I'm going to read it out anyway. But the bit that made me laugh. The bit that made me laugh is so
amazing.
It has a injected ad. You know, like these days when you look at websites, like you try and scroll through an article and there's some annoying ad that's completely injected in it. And I've got ad blockers.
You can't even actually understand what's happening in the article.
Yeah, and I mean, I've got ad blockers installed on everything I have, so I rarely see advertising, but occasionally they're smart. And they inject these ads. So
yes.
So I'm looking at this thing that says musicians refuse to eat turkey on Thanksgiving, and then it has a whole thing about blah, 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 and the vegetarians and yada, yada, yada. And then you scroll down a bit, and it's an ad for Kroger. And what do we have here? We have lean ground beef, we have pork back ribs, we have extra large raw shrimp, and then we have breakfast sausage.
Okay. And what does this mean?
It means that it's someone coded this, so it's talking about not eating meat, so it's injected an ad for meat products.
Of course, because the whole post was about not eating meat. All right.
There we are. But also look at the bottom, we have Kroger chicken party wings, Tyson family pack of frozen chicken.
There's legitimately not one ad that's not about meat. Is what you're saying.
DiGiorno pizza with pepperoni on it. There you go.
All right.
All right. It's actually more, but I'm not going to just list off Kroger meat products.
We'll be here for the next 74 years.
Okay. So these are some famous rock and roll vegetarians.
Amazing.
We have Rob Zombie. We have Brian May, of course. We have Joan Jett. We have Lenny Kravitz, Geezer Butler, Bill Ward.
These all feel very on brand.
Yeah. Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, Morrissey, of course. Phil Collin from Def Leppard, Kirk Hammett.
Not Collins, they're different.
Yeah. Kirk Hammett from Metallica. I mean, Weird Al. I mean, Iggy Pop, Bryan Adams. I mean, we can go through this list if you like. But anyhow,
they all feel very much like I already know.
Yeah, but the bit that caught me was the hilarious Kroger injected ad in the middle of that article.
It is very weird that they spend so much time. Because to be honest with you, I feel like they should have. If I'm going to actively look up these artists that I know are already vegetarians, why weren't they advertising me like green beans or tofu or something?
You would think so, but that's not the way the algorithm works, clearly.
Obviously. Tim, I think you need to overly engage in tofu-based recipes or something. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I choose not to eat meat. That's my decision. If you want to enjoy a steak, please enjoy yourself.
I mean, let's be honest with you. That's very Yeah, pretty much. And to be honest with you, I'm not a hardcore. I've talked about this. I don't eat a lot of meat, but I'm not. I think Tim is more a vegetarian than I am at this point because you're a little bit more stringent because you talked about how, your health and different things that have happened in your life that have affected you that you feel that way. But
Mm-hmm.
me and Tim are very much not actively, like, very ethical, I guess vegetarians. I don't think that's who we are as humans. For those who don't know, I kind of went down the vegetarian route because I had this thing that happened to Tim. My cholesterol was high.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happened to me. I got a bad cholesterol thing, and then I was like, never again. I don't want to be that person. And then that I was when I went down that. It's just funny to me though, as a human, that you got that, Tim, because it's like I wonder what your interacting with it that they thought that you would want that. Do you know what I'm saying, Tim? Because, like, what are you as a human interacting that I just don't know that that's, I don't know how to explain it.
I don't know. It's just some kind of advertising coding type thing.
Am I putting too much thought into it? Probably.
Yeah, you're putting far too much thought into it.
And Tim's like, this is why, Joy. You're always overthinking things. But anyway, with that being said, it is my topic now. We're not going to get into my topic though, because I do want to play a little bit of a game with Tim.
Okay.
And I want to play a this or that game. I've been thinking about this a lot. And if you've ever played this or that, I'm assuming Tim has. I want to know what Tim's thoughts are. We're doing specifically a this or that music edition, right?
Okay.
I think I know some of these. Obviously, we're going to pick Spotify or CD. Do you go Spotify or do you go CD, Tim?
This is tough. My heart would say CD. My practical would say Spotify, but
I
I
know
th-
this is going to be a struggle for you. I knew.
this is tough. But I think at this stage now with lossless streaming, if I wasn't invested in my CD collection now, if for some reason I didn't have all my CDs, for whatever reason, there was an alien abduction and they came down like in V in the 80s, and what they wanted was my compact disc collection to leave the earth alone, and I donated it to them, for example.
What a very weirdly specific thing to say, but all right.
I would probably not replace it.
Fair enough. All right. So, headphones or surround sound speaker? Like good headphones. Think of your best headphones that you can listen to, or surround sound good speaker. Which one do you pick?
Headphones every time. I don't actively like surround sound. The problem with surround sound is
Fair.
that it's a two-channel source, like a stereo source, which is put through a processor to make it sound like surround. And they put delays on it and stuff, and they filter frequencies and stuff, and it sounds ridiculous. Or you have some kind of film, TV show, or even like 5.1 mix sound mix, and it's so over the top, it's ridiculous. In my opinion, you cannot get better than left-right stereo sound and a really good pair of high-quality headphones. I have Audio Technica headphones. Actually, I have two
I
pairs of them.
actually agree with you on that.
Yeah. There's something so immersive about a good pair of stereo headphones where you can hear when it completely immerses you in the mix. I don't think even the best surround sound and best surround mixes have that same level of immersion.
Controversially, I will say, like when I'm in like I guess in my music mode, right, Tim? When I'm feeling like there's a difference when I'm like listening to music. I guess just like kind of listening to it, and when I'm like hardcore listening to music, for lack of a better way of saying it. And Tim can understand because I'll be talking to him about like, oh my gosh, like this song. And there's something about when you have your headphones on and like the right and the left, and just I almost can like feel every line. I don't know if that makes any sense. And everybody's screaming, like, what does that mean? Like, I can hear, like, the bass. I can hear the treble. I can hear all of it so perfectly with headphones, even with surround sound. And me and Tim have talked about this. I have a very good surround sound system, but I know Tim does too. People we never really gave in this, but something about the headphones. I don't know. It's almost like you feel it intentionally as a human when you have your own headphones on. Does that sound dumb, Tim? I hope that didn't make any sense
No,
to
it
anyone.
makes absolute perfect sense. And plus, when you're wearing headphones, good quality headphones, you're isolated, especially ones that completely cover your ears. Whereas even the best surround system, you still have the ambience for the room. And yeah, sometimes ambience is what you want, but I don't know, it just seals you into that world and that mix and that song.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the best surround sound system doesn't do that.
All right, Tim, this is a very important question. Are we going 80s or are we going 90s as a whole as a human? I already know the answer.
The 80s, everything that you ever
Always.
want came from the 80s. TV shows, film,
Was it
technology.
really a question? No, it wasn't.
The compact disc came out in the 80s. Mobile phones, pretty well 70s really, but 80s came out from there. I mean, pretty much all the technology you'd ever want in the 80s. If you drop me back in 1982 right now, I could thrive. I'd miss the internet. I would miss the internet. I will tell you that. But pretty much everything I ever want is there. I could watch WrestleMania 3 when it aired. I mean, it'd be fantastic.
The funny part is when I was doing all this research, everybody was like, the Beatles or the Rolling Stones. And I'm like, I can't ask him that because no one, who's going to pick the Rolling Stones over the Beatles, Tim, really?
I mean, some would. I mean, I would pick the Beatles
Are there
every
really
time.
people out there you think, though?
I think so. People would. But the thing is,
I will
with
controversially say no.
the Rolling Stones' catalog is huge and diverse, whereas the Beatles' catalog is 9 albums, 10 albums, whatever it is, and a few compilations and a bunch of tracks that are like non-album singles and the anthologies and things. So it's a lot more concise, and you've still got 2 members of the band out there getting it done. Whereas I mean, the Rolling Stones are still out there playing, and the core members of the group are still touring.
Yeah,
but I don't know. They have iconic songs, but they're not the Beatles.
Oh my God, Tim. Charlie said to me today, and bless his little heart, I think he meant well, but he said to me, George McCartney.
Oh dear.
And I said, what? I said, are you saying George Harrison or Paul McCartney? He was referencing something. He took a step back and realized I think he was trying to say George Harrison. But my husband looked at me and said, George McCartney.
At which point you said, Charlie, this has been a great decade of my life, but I feel now's the time.
I was like, what? I legitimately went, what? Like, it took me a second because I was like, he was saying something about somebody was doing like something music related and they were reaching out to this artist and there was like a whole story right behind it, Tim. Mm-hmm. And then he went, George McCartney. And I went, I'm sorry, what? I need you to repeat that back to me. And I said, okay, we need to have a conversation. Are we talking George Harrison or are we talking Paul McCartney, which are both beautiful, amazing artists, but they're very different humans. One died much earlier than the other one and one's still alive.
Yeah.
Because I need to have a conversation with you as a human. We figured out he was trying to say Paul McCartney. He was. I don't know how he got there, Tim. It was a conversation that I was embarrassed to have. But anyway, so with that being said, I'm so happy we got into that because I have a very interesting episode tonight. So we did last week, right? We kind of talked about Christmas, and it was really kind of almost like poetic because we kind of talked a lot about in my previous episode about different Christmas songs that were all over the world, right?
Yeah.
So with that coming out, and Tim, you might have to hold this episode, and that I'm perfectly okay with holding it. We're doing a interesting New Year's episode. Woo! So what I might have asked the internet to find out with me, what are the US 100 New Year's songs? And then I asked for the UK equivalent from 1985 to 2000 because I was curious to do like a comparison. So we got the Billboard Hot 100 and then the UK has what they're calling the singles chart.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the equivalent. And so I was very interested to see. I started out from 1985 and then I asked us to give us all the way to 2000. Do I know that we'll get there and we don't spend 20 minutes telling people how they should sell their coins or something? I don't know, Tim. Whatever we do, do not come to this podcast for financial advice. I'm not saying we're good at it, but we've tried, right? I think a little bit.
We've done our best, Joy.
All right. So with that being said, I started in 1985 because that was my lead-in when I asked this Tim about the 80s to the 90s. So I knew he was going to pick the 80s. What was interesting is I picked 1985 because I've talked about this. It's hard to get like actual number one tracks before 1985 in the UK. You guys didn't have like an official nomenclature or whatever. Do you know what I'm talking about, Tim? Like it was a thing.
Well, you
It's
had two.
weird.
You've always had two charts. You had the network chart, which is the one supported by independent radio stations, and then you had the BBC Gallup chart, and then sometimes they were different.
Yes, and that was weird. So like it was about 1985 that they came to like an official like we're going to make this the number one. So that's
Yeah.
why I talked about this before. It's kind of hard past that to get like official numbers. And that sounds weird because 1985 doesn't seem that far. But we're not going to talk about how long ago it was, Tim, because we're in 2025 and that was
19, no,
actually
it's
like,
easy. 1985 was 20 years ago.
sure, sir. All right. With that being said, Tim's not mentally well. I'm kidding. But I also struggle with this. Like, I still think about the 1990s were 10 years ago, and that's not true.
No, they
They're
were.
not.
They were.
Okay, well, Tim's just giving into my fantasy. All right. With that being said, in 1985, so what I was asking, because I want this to be our New Year's episode, these are all the songs that were number one on New Year's Day and insert this year, right? 1985 in the US Billboard Hot 100, it was Madonna, Like a Virgin.
Mm-hmm.
And then for the UK, it was exactly what you think. It's Do They Know It's Christmas Band Aid? Who could have predicted that?
Yeah, I was having this conversation with Hannah the other day about do they know it's Christmas? I mean, she can't tell at this point. I think much like you, because we've done 250 something episodes of this podcast. So the lines are probably blurred for you at this point, and they're certainly blurred for Hannah, but I still have the opinion that song is iconic and legendary in the UK and mostly known in the US.
I think it's remotely known. Like, I think you're right. Like, there's like a weird, I can't always, and there's different times where Tim's asked me, do you know this artist on this podcast? I'm like, yeah, but I only know it because of you. Like, I don't think I know it because I grew up listening to it. Does that make sense, Tim?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, yeah, I know what it is, but because you've been talking about it for the last 3+ since COVID, right? At this point, podcast years. Now, the funny thing was, so I asked the internet, and by the internet, it might have been a little bit of AI, but I was asking some information on these songs. And one thing that I popped up that I didn't know, Tim, was this Boy George almost missed the whole thing because he overslept. Did you know that, Tim?
I didn't know that. I know there's a video of Culture Club that doesn't have the bass player because the bass player was too hungover, so they sent in his brother that sort of looks like him. I do know that, but no, I didn't know about Boy George oversleeping and almost missing the recording session.
Yeah, apparently he was in New York and he had to be flown out, and he was very possibly hungover, just like the person we were just speaking of, and he almost missed it. He did.
Yeah.
I'm glad he didn't because it made this iconic. But I do know what Band Aid is, but there is like I don't know, there's like a weird mentality around it. I don't know how to explain it. It's just not at the height that it was in the UK.
Yeah,
All
the
right.
other thing is that these days, if you was doing a similar charity single, you would not call it Band Aid because certainly in the 80s, people in the UK knew of US culture, but not to
Yeah.
the same degree we have now with the internet and what have you. In the US, Band Aids are plasters. So like in England, you have plasters. In the United States, you have Band-Aids.
It is an unfortunate name. It is. And I think it plays from like Live Aid and Farm Aid. You know what I'm saying?
Band-Aid,
Yeah.
Band-Aid came first. That was the kickoff, if you will.
Yeah.
You know, it was the Dancing in the
You're
Street
right.
with David Bowie and Mick Jagger. That was the first part of the Live Aid charity fundraiser awareness was
I
that.
guess that was first, you're right.
That was first, and then it was followed by Band-Aids, Do They Know It's Christmas? And then after that was Live Aid.
Yes. And yeah, a Band-Aid is just like if I get a cut, I put a Band-Aid on it. And to be fair with you, there's a lot of things that I don't know if this is an American concept or whatever, but certain things that like you use very often, that's not the technical name for it, right, Tim?
No.
But because the brand that you know for it, right? That when I get a cut, I'm going to put a Band-Aid on it. Or when I need to clean my ear out, I put a Q-tip in it.
Yeah.
Q-tip's not the real name for it. It's cotton, or like the actual technical term. It's a cotton swab.
Yeah.
But we call it Q-tip, even though that's the brand you know it from. So
Yeah,
it
like
is
in the
unfortunate.
UK, we have sellotape. Same thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you buy real sellotape or Tesco brand. It's still sellotape. When in the United States, you would call it Scotch tape, which is the same
Yep.
Same principle.
We'll just tape.
Or like
yeah.
Tannoy. Tannoy is a brand name. It's a public address system.
Yeah. I mean, that just very, unfortunately, the Band Aid name does make me feel like I will say Tim's right. As an American, when I hear it, I instantly think, oh, I've got a cut. I'm going to put a Band Aid on it, right? Like,
Exactly.
legitimately, I know what it is now because I associate all these different aid things. And Tim's right. It was the first, right? 1985 was Band Aid, and then you got Live Aid, and we got Farm Aid, and then the names have been used for many different times.
Mm-hmm.
But Band Aid wasn't an unfortunate name for you get a cut and you stick something on it. Anyway, I think you're right, though, Tim. That was a kind of sad thing. All right. So for 1986, we're going to move into this. We're going to go to the US one. This is not a song we've talked about, weirdly enough, Tim. Now, the next one we talked about. And so for the US song, it's not something we've talked about a lot, but the UK song we just talked about last week. With that being said, it's for the US, it's Say You, Say Me, Lionel Richie. But for the UK, it was Merry Christmas, everyone, Shakin' Stevens.
Oh, it's an absolute classic. I mean, I think that's the one we spoke of on the Christmas album. Shaky.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It literally just
Shaky.
came up last week. So weird. So Merry Christmas was actually recorded. No, I found a fun fact about this, though. And I wanted to bring it up because I didn't know. Tim's like, do you know Shakin' Stevens? I'm like, no, but I have heard Merry Christmas, everyone. Like, I've heard the song, but I don't know who Shakin' Stevens is. Like, that doesn't really ring a bell with me. Fun fact, though, Merry Christmas, everyone was actually recorded in 1984, but they held it and didn't put it out until 1986 because of Band Aid. They knew Band Aid was going to be so heightened and that was going to be dominating the tracks, right, Tim? Mm-hmm. So they just didn't put it out. I thought that was interesting because you brought up Shakin' Stevens last week.
There we are. Not my words, the words of Shakin' Stevens.
Does that mean something to me?
It means something to Phil, who's probably laughing right now.
Every time I ask that, I already know is going to be a reference to a comedy that Phil Reese never. I already know where it's going, but I'm like, am I supposed to answer this? Because I don't have a great answer to it. Phil Reese is like a weird third-party shadow person in the podcast world. Now, Say You, Say Me is a great Lionel Richie song, though, I will say. I don't know what to do with them.
Yeah, maybe at one point we should do a Lionel Richie episode.
He's one of those people, though, that we talk about has been in the music industry and done all this stuff in the background for very many years, right? Like, he's got a lot of songs he's behind that people don't even know he's behind.
Oh, yeah, but production, songwriting. I mean, he co-wrote We Are the World with Michael Jackson.
Mm-hmm. He's one of those people, though, that, like, I think people forget about. I don't know how to explain it. Like Cruisin', right? When we talk about the Bee Gees, that's Lionel Richie. Lionel Richie is such an interesting person. Say You, Say Me is a great song, by the way, which is wonderful.
Of course.
I don't know if it was popular in the UK, but I assume it was.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Lionel has always been big. He was in the Commodores and then he was solo. I mean, he's dancing on the ceiling, for goodness sake.
He was. He's also one of those people that I do know he wrote, because you got like what? Well, Hello. That sounds really weird to say, but he had Hello. All Night Long. One of my favorites. Easy. I mean, the Commodores. The Commodores are amazing, and I feel like everybody doesn't talk about the Commodores enough. But he also is one of those people who wrote like 74 songs.
Sure.
All right. Well, this is not a Lionel Richie podcast, but
no, it might be in the future. It may be in the future.
That isn't. But to be fair with you, Tim, that's an artist we really haven't talked about that much, have we?
Not really. No. And I know, and he listens. I know he tunes in.
Oh, well, I know. I'm sorry we haven't done that. We'll do a cruising episode next week. I have someone got that reference. All right. So for 1987. It's interesting to me because I know you're going to laugh at this. So for the U.S., it's Walk Like an Egyptian, the Bangles, of course. Amazing. I know this artist, but I don't know this song. For the U.K., it's Jackie Wilson's Reet Petey?
Reet Petite. Reet Petite, the finest girl you ever wanted me. Bam, 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 whoa, ho, 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 ba-dam, ba-dam.
Are you speaking English right now?
Yeah, it was. I think Jackie Wilson's It was a reissue of an old song.
Is it really? I've never heard that.
Reet Petite by Jackie Wilson. It's famous. And it had a video that was done like claymation.
Because the thing about it is like, I love Jackie Wilson. Tim will tell you that's like right up my alley, right? As like a Motown kind of lover. Like, that's kind of my vibe. But I've legitimately never heard this song. What the? I feel like I'm missing out on a whole Jackie Wilson thing I didn't know existed.
Yeah, it was originally released in 1958,
Huh.
but it was for some reason it was reissued in the UK.
Interesting. I've legitimately never heard this song. I feel like that's weird to me because as like someone who's like into my like Motown kind of like, love me some Jackie Wilson kind of person, I've never heard this Tim. Not
Okay.
once.
Well, I've just looked it up. It says the song was reissued in 1986 following the showing of a claymation animation video of Wilson singing the song on the BBC Two documentary series Arena. And it was so popular, it was reissued, and then it became the Christmas number one.
What's crazy is that would have been after he died, right? Because that was like early 80s that he died.
Three
So
years
that's
after, yeah, 3 years after his death, it came out.
that's so weird to me because I love me some Jackie Wilson. But when I was doing this episode, I was like, repeat? Like, what are we talking? Petite. I mean, it's petite, right? Like, it's French, like petite. But like, I was like, I've never once heard this in, huh? It must have legitimately only been popular in England. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, in 1958, it was probably very popular in this country, but certainly
Maybe.
in the 80s, it was popular because of that claymation video.
Very interesting how things can like resurge that way, though, isn't it? Like, I don't know. All right, so we're going into 1988. Lovely year, I guess. My favorite, one of my all-time favorite songs is the number one in the U.S. It's Faith, George Michael.
There we are.
Now,
And I can give you a fun fact. The opening guitar rhythm, bam, ba-dum, 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 bum, that's played by a session guitarist called Hugh Byrne. Hugh Byrne is the same guy who plays the solo on Jerry Rafferty's Baker Street.
I mean, that's amazing, and everything that's ever been done to that person. Like, he should get the keys to the city. One of the best opening guitar riffs that I've ever experienced in my entire life, and I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, and
He deserves
I was
everything.
in Chandler Guitars in Q when Chandler's was still open, and I was buying something, waiting to pay, and and a guy in front of me walked out, and I went to the counter. He said, "Did you know who that was?" I said, "No." He said, "That's Hugh Byrne." I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah, he comes in here all the time, buys strings." I said, "Okay."
I feel like that happens to you a lot in life, Tim, but it's a debate for another time. Maybe you're lucky, maybe you're not lucky, because it's always like, they're like, that person was here, and you're like, huh? And then they're already gone by the time you walk in the door. Like, I feel like you've given me like 37 stories where that's happened. Now, for the UK number one in 1988, it was Always on My Mind, Pet Shop Boys, which is also a great song too, though. I love the Pet Shop Boys. I do.
Yeah, a cover of an Elvis song, obviously.
Yeah.
There's something about that classic era of the Pet Shop Boys. I mean, they're still going and they're still making great music, but there's something about their 80s output is incredibly special. I recently
West End
purchased
Girls, man. It is just hits.
Suburbia,
Go
Opportunities,
West.
is Domino Dancing. I mean,
Yes.
I recently purchased the Introspective album on CD. Now, I actually have a vinyl copy of it, but I wanted a CD copy because I rarely play records these days. And it's just so good. It's like a remix album of sorts, but it is so good.
They're very interesting to me as a band because, like, they kind of do a little bit of, obviously they're synth pop, they're that duo, very probably early London kind of pop. I don't know if they're from London. I'm assuming they are. That's a very, please don't come from the internet if they're not. But Tim knows what I'm saying. Like, they're giving those vibes. But they're also just so interesting because, like, they take the synth pop, but they make it interesting. Does that make sense, Tim? Like, it's not just synth pop. There's something about it that like speaks to my soul. Like, I can hear West End Girls 1,000 times and I love it every time. I just do.
East End Boys and West End Girls.
I know. And I sing that all the time in my brain. I'm always like, East End Boys and West End Girls. I don't know how to explain it. And then it's like, Go West is a freaking, it's just a bop. I don't know how to explain it. That's what the kids say now, Tim. They say it's a bop. Did you know that?
I didn't know that. I mean, I'm at the point now when I hear things being said or see things on videos, I have to look up the slang because it's like, what does this mean?
Apparently they're saying it's a bop now. I don't.
And what's this thing with 5 and 8 or 12 and 2? What were the people are talking about?
What?
Is it this numbers 6 and 8 or 6
I've
and
heard 6, 7.
yeah?
6,
What's that
7
all
is a thing.
about? What does that mean?
I don't know. It's something about kids who are going 6'7", and I don't know what it
Meaning,
means. I don't think it means anything. I think it's just them being annoying, to be honest, Tim.
I have absolutely no idea. And then, do you know, the thing that gets me is that, like, I
Can't take this serious. Because to be honest with you, Tim, I've been hearing the 6'7" stuff, but I don't know what it means either. I'm like, what does it mean? And they're like, it doesn't mean anything. I'm like, why are we saying it then?
exactly. I mean, as you know, I rarely go in shops if I can help it. I don't like going in
God
shops
help
at all.
me.
And occasionally, I will
Okay.
go into a Target or a Walmart, very occasionally. And if I'm being honest with you, it might be because they've just reissued the LJN classic wrestling figures and they're
Very
only
on
available
brand.
in Target. Anyway, beside the point. So I go into Target recently looking for these LJNs. They didn't even have them. And I'm looking through the toy racks, and they have like toys and novelties based on weird memes and weird things that kids say. And it's like, what is this?
Wait, I always try though. I'm trying to look at it like when I'm thinking about me as a kid, right? Because we said stupid stuff too. So I'm always like, man, we're probably saying dumb stuff. But the 6'7" thing, I can't figure out because it's legitimately just like children just saying 6'7". That's it, Tim. There's like no like ulterior motive or anything. And I'm like, where? What? But to be honest with you, we did dumb stuff too. So like,
Yeah, but
just let him.
there's zero record of it, thankfully.
No one was recording us back in the day.
No. I may have done something dumb and it was on a TDK D90, and who knows where that is.
So have you guys ever, I'm going to ask this question for Tim. And obviously, I'm younger than Tim. That's not a shocker to anybody with this podcast. But I am very happy some of the stuff I did between like 19 to 21 years old are not on record.
Oh, 100%. Much like everybody, I've done some very stupid things in my life. And there's very
Yes.
stupid things fueled by alcohol or otherwise. And
All the above.
yeah. And I'm glad none of that lives on
Yes.
anywhere. And if any of it lives anywhere, it may be in a picture. And that's about it.
But that's about it. There was a time where, in the early 2000s, I don't know, it might have been, I was probably like, I was 21, right, Tim? Because I was in a bar. And me and a few friends got pushed on stage, and we danced on stage. Very, very, very drunk, Tim. Like, I'm not even going to hide for what it was. And I think back about this and think if that had happened now, I probably would have been on like a TikTok special or something. You know what I mean, Tim? And I'm like, thank the Lord I wasn't. And I think about this often. And like, even like as much as you love her hair, Paris Hilton has been on record saying, I'm really glad I grew up in the late 90s, early 2000s versus now. She's like, I would have been canceled. And she's not wrong. Do you ever think about this, Tim? Like, I would hate to grow up now. I really would.
Yeah, because you know you need to do stupid things and you need to learn,
learn.
And you need to build your life experience without the benefit of everything being recorded and documented.
I just seem to remember one time I was leaning out, and Tim's going to laugh so hard about this. I was at a friend's house. We were at a party, and there was two glass doors, right, Tim? And you know, like when someone has this is a house party, obviously. When someone has two glass doors, you know how like there's like a pin that you have to like make sure is in the hole so they don't break open?
Yeah.
Guess who leaned against those glass doors, Joy did. Guess what wasn't in the hole?
The little pin.
I fell straight back on that. And like in that moment, I'm laughing. But I just keep thinking about as an adult now. Like, I'm so glad no one watched that happen to me.
Yeah, people would be videoing you do it and it'd live on forever.
It's kind of sad, though, that they don't get to, like, I don't know, we could be here for 74 years. But do you not think it's a little sad that you can't, like, you have to live in the idea that, like, you could be recorded anytime now? Now, that's not saying there's some good in that, right? Because people do crappy things and they should be recorded and no one should be able to get away with it. But I do think that, like, it could be a little embarrassing.
Yeah, absolutely 100%.
All right, let's go back to the thing. So happy that I'm not recorded for if anyone was at that event, don't put the photos up. No one needs to see them. No one needs to see them. All right. man high-fiving members of Slade does not need to be on the internet and joy dancing to rap music the early 2000s doesn't need to be there. All right. So with that being said, we're going into 1989. Great year. Tim's not going to be surprised by any of these choices. For the U.S., it was Every Rose Has Its Thorns, Poison. And then, very interesting, but I do know this song, but it was not popular in the U.S. I will say, this is especially for you, Kylie Minogue and Jason Donovan.
Yes, the famous duet. Now, Kylie Minogue and Jason Donovan were both in the TV show Neighbours, which was an Australian soap opera, which wrapped 3 or 4 years ago, I suppose, at this point. And they both had pop careers coming from Neighbours. Now, you also had Stephen Dennis, which had a pop career from Neighbours. And then you also had, I think, Danny Minogue as well. Kylie's sister was in Neighbours and had a pop career as well. But
Sounds right to me.
Yeah, but the fact that Kylie and Jason did a duet of Especially For You, that was big news. Now, I think Kylie, as the years have gone on, has sort of transcended her UK-only audience and is bigger now, is big in the US. But I don't think Jason Donovan ever really had a US pop career.
So what's so funny you say that is I was reading the little fun fact the internet gave me. It said that Kylie and Jason were the Taylor and Travis of Europe. And I'm like, what does that mean? I was thinking Taylor Swift and Travis, her husband, right? So were Kylie and Jason in a relationship, Tim? Is that what was happening there?
I think there was some talk at the time, whether it was a relationship for marketing purposes or whether it was real, I don't know. But yeah, there was much talk about that.
Could be a little bit of both, though, because like a lot of times when these couples are in a relationship on a show, you know what I mean, Tim? Some of it plays into reality and whatever.
Exactly.
So
I mean, just look at Burt Reynolds and Sally Field and Smokey and the Bandit. Maybe that's an old reference. I don't know.
Old man over here giving us no, but I do know what you're saying though. It's just very interesting because that was the fun fact I got. It said it was fictional and reality, but I was like, how much do we know for real? Now, Every Rose Has a Thorn, Poison is just a good song.
It is indeed. It is incredibly overplayed. I played it in so many bands. It has a G, C, D, E minor. It's all the chords. All right. It's a easy guitar. Beginner's chords type thing, but it's okay. I mean, we played it in Whiskey River, we played it in Flake It Hill. I'm not playing it in Nightwings, but I'm sure the next music project that I get involved with will probably play it again.
It's one of those songs that, like, I know it. Do I seek it out? No. It's also not that hard to perform, I imagine, as a guitarist, as Tim was saying, but even as a singer. Like, it's not Poison's, like, opus, right? Do you know what I'm saying? Like Maddo's opus. Like it's not that hard to perform, I would imagine. As a human,
absolutely. And it's
as a human, as a singer. That's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
As a human.
It's also a distant cover of "Sound of Thunder" by Frequency. It's a distant cousin, if you will.
I feel like there's some biases there, but we'll debate that in the near future. No, it's fine. Like I like Poison, but I have a question for you, Tim. If you were going to name your favorite Poison song, what would it be?
Unskinny Bop.
Oh my God, that was mine and you took it because I am controversially going to say that's my favorite because it's not everybody's favorite.
No, and also on that track, CeCe DeVille plays a Fender Stratocaster guitar, not a humbucker loaded guitar. It has a very different kind of guitar sound to other Poison tracks of that era.
I'm so mad you said that because that was my go-to. And the thing about it is controversy is why me and Tim are BFFs. Because like Unskinny Bop lives rent-free in my head, and it's such an underrated song.
Oh, it's a fantastic
Maybe is it underrated anymore? I don't know. But when people hear Poison, they don't think Unskinny Bop. They just don't. But I actively seek out that song once a week at least, Tim. I do.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great song.
Do you play it though? Like, have you ever played it in a band?
No, I've never played it.
Well, you need to make them play that because it's way better than Every Rose Has a Thorns. I'm just saying.
Oh, 100%.
Skinny bop bop. It's why is it so good though? It's something about it that's like just on brand. All right, we're moving into 1990. This was the year the best person that you've ever known was born. Joy. Don't know what that had to do with anything, but the top songs for New Year's Day were Another Day in Paradise, Phil Collins, not shocking. And then for the UK, it's Do They Know It's Christmas, Band Aid 2.
Yeah. So I used to be obviously used to be in the band Rough Justice, and the guitarist Russ really despised this song, and he called Phil Collins the singing social worker.
I mean, kind of. It's not necessarily wrong, but Another Day in Paradise is like peak Phil Collins.
It really is, but I mean, it's not the best Phil Collins. Like, some of the Genesis stuff is really good, and some of his earlier solo material is really good. But this is the sort of era of sickly pop, radio friendly Phil Collins, and it's not his finest work. It's not Easy Lover, for example.
Well, that was my question, Tim. If you had to pick one top Phil Collins song, we're going to take Genesis out of it. We're just talking straight Phil Collins. What do you pick?
Well, it would probably be Easy Lover, but that's a duet with Phil Bailey. I mean, you've got In the Air Tonight. You've got, I don't know.
One More Night, though. One More Night.
Yeah, One More Night's a good track. But
Against All Odds.
Yeah, again, that's all a little bit. But yeah, Easy Lover. I'm going to pretend that Phil Bailey is not on that track, even though he's integral to it, and tell you want Easy Lover, because that is such a good song. It's
very hard to segment Phil Collins away from the Genesis catalog too, Tim. It just is. Because let's be honest with you, he is Genesis. He just is. Is he not? Am I crazy?
He's integral to Genesis, but I mean, Genesis existed before him and existed after him.
I don't agree with it.
I don't know.
I'm struggling with that one. I'm struggling with that because my thing is Susu Studio, I Can't Dance, Follow You, Follow Me. They're all so good, Tim. They're just all so good that I don't see in my mind. Someone's going to come for me on the internet. I can't associate it without him. I just can't. I can't.
Yeah, but there was a Genesis album with a completely different singer before, in a contemporary album, not like the original Peter Gabriel Genesis, but that had no Phil on it at all.
I know, but controversially, I'm just going to say I didn't. Who's listening to that, really? I'm going to get the internet. They're going to come for me, Tim, aren't they? This is the time that I break the internet. They're like, Joy, you're lying. But Phil Collins, everything that he puts his name on, it's just so good that, I just can't hear it without him. And to be fair with you, In the Air Tonight, Tim, we didn't even talk about In the Air Tonight. You Can't Hurry Love. We didn't even talk about You Can't Hurry Love, which is also obviously a remake.
And that is from the soundtrack album Buster, from the film Buster, which Phil Collins which starred in.
I hope everybody knows the Supremes exist. I mean, if anyone didn't know that, I don't think I said anything controversial, right? But Phil Collins is one of those people that once he puts his name on something, I just can't hear it without him. There's something very iconic of him as he has that ability, even Land of Confusion. We've talked about this, right? Or whatever it is, Invisible Touch. Great song. Great 80s pop hit. Probably mid-80s, I would think. Something about when he puts his little touch on it, you just know it's a Phil Collins hit, though.
Absolutely. And also, he collects artifacts from the Alamo. And if you go to the Alamo in San Antonio, Texas, there is a museum there, which is the Philip Collins Collection. Just putting that out there.
Well, anyway, we didn't talk at all, but do they know it's Christmas Band Aid? But we've talked about that a lot recently. So, Phil Collins, if you're listening, we'd love to have you on the podcast, I think, right, Tim?
I mean, yeah, if he's got time. I mean, he's not drumming anymore, but he's still making music and still being a legend. So, I mean, he may have some time. I don't know.
What's super interesting about Phil Collins when I was doing this episode, though, is Another Day in Paradise would be Phil Collins' final #1 U.S. hit. He didn't get another. Now, that doesn't mean he gets second, third, fourth, whatever, right? But this was the final song. You got a #1 U.S. hit, Tim. I would have thought there were a bit more, but
there we are. It was, as I said, he never fully reached that peak he had.
He never come to talk to us. We could have helped him through all this.
And he was in an episode of Miami Vice.
All right. With this being said, 1991 is going to be one that Tim's going to have to talk to you guys about the UK stuff because I don't know. I do know this song, but I don't know enough to be able to talk about it. So for America, it's Justified by Love, Madonna, which obviously I know that song. Yep. But for the UK, it's Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter, Iron Maiden.
Yeah, great song.
Very different songs.
Yeah, so Iron Maiden rarely would hit the mainstream when it came to hits. It was rare that you would have one of their songs in the charts. They also had Can I Play with Madness? It was another song they had in the UK charts. But typically what was perceived as, long-haired heavy metal type thing was not mainstream at that time.
Of course.
So the fact that that song was number one was huge. That, an act like Iron Maiden, Iron Maiden are amazing, but, they're not mainstream, or at least weren't mainstream back then. So the fact that they got a number one single was very exciting for me, at least.
What's funny about this, though, is the US was literally trying to ban Justify My Love, the music video, because, Madonna is controversial enough, right? And the UK's like, let's make it even weirder. Bring your daughter to the slaughter.
It's probably all like medieval themed stuff.
I'm sure it was. But to be fair with you, it does say the BBC did refuse to play this song, and it still hit number one. So that's kind of cool. It's just funny that the thing about it was Justify My Love by Madonna was being banned in America because, we joke about back in, I think it's gotten better, but Tim has been actively talked about, we've even talked about different things where in America, it's this is kind of oh my God, there's some controversial thing. Sometimes in the UK, that's a Saturday night, really. But
the famous example is Janet Jackson at the Super Bowl bearing her breast for 0.25 of a second. And in the UK, we're like, yeah, so?
That's every Saturday night ever. So it's just funny that Justify My Love was being banned in America, right, Tim? And then when I was that was the fact I got. And then it's bring your daughter to the slaughter was the UK equivalent. I was like, well, we're maybe in different worlds a little bit here. Now, I do know that song from Iron Maiden, but I will say I'm not an active Iron Maiden. I'm just going to say it, Tim. I listen to them, but I'm not going out of my way to find their music. I'm just not. Now, controversially, do you think they are the start of metal? Because I've heard that there's some controversial statements about this. I don't know.
They are classed as the new wave of British heavy metal. That's how they're classed. I mean, I think metal is like rock. There's so many subgenres of it at this point. So
it's kind of weird.
Slipknot is metal, but also you could class Van Halen as metal.
Or even Metallica if you want to get into it.
As metal. I mean, there's so many offshoots of metal. So yeah, maybe metal, but I mean, I think I would probably class Maiden as hard rock at this point. I don't know.
What do you think, Tim? If you had to class one band that you think is the predecessor of metal, what would you pick? Because it feels like there's a lot of people in the rock world who care about this and Joy doesn't. But Tim probably knows more than I will ever know.
Everything you know as metal, it began with Black Sabbath and the very first Black Sabbath album. I knew that's where you're going
with that. I knew it was coming.
That is where metal begins, and everything comes off that.
Interesting. Okay. Do you think the internet is going to come for you, or do you think they'll reach him?
That is pretty much accepted as fact.
That's a standard. Okay. I'm not going to pretend like I know, but when I think of metal, that's where I started. I think of Black Sabbath, and I think of Albee. I do.
Yeah,
I do.
The very first Black Sabbath album, and that's where it begins.
All right, guys. So for 1992, we have a very interesting thing, but it's not that interesting because if you were alive in 1992 and or might have been watching VH1, this sounds very accurate. It was Black or White, Michael Jackson. And then, of course, we have Bohemian Rhapsody, slash, whatever it is.
Backslash.
These are the days of our lives, Queen.
Yeah, so that was coming off the sad loss of Freddie Mercury. They reissued that. Obviously, Bohemian Rhapsody on one side, The Days of Our Life. So I think that was the last video that Freddie Mercury was involved with, and it was a double A side, and all the money went to AIDS relief. The Mercury Phoenix Trust hadn't even been set up at that point. It was an incredibly difficult and sad time for all of us in the UK, me especially being a big Queen fan. So yeah, tricky time.
Now it does say that Queen's double-sided, Bohemian Rhapsody / / whatever I was trying to say. These are the days of our lives. It stayed at number one for 5 weeks and made it the biggest at that time, was the longest selling, with the exception, of course, as we know, of Elton and Diana. We don't have to get into Candle in the Wind for the 47th millionth time, memorial soundtrack of all time. Now, What year, Tim, don't come for me, was it 92 when when Freddie passed away? I don't know
It's
what
like,
year it
I
was.
think it's November 24th, 92, or it's
Okay.
November something 22.
I thought it was 91,
92.
but I guess it might have been 92.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense, though, that would follow. Now, Black or White was also a great song, too, but, it probably was a little overshadowed with what was happening with Queen. So,
Absolutely. And also the video for Black or White has Macaulay Culkin at the very beginning of
and
it.
it's my favorite.
Playing a pink Ernie Ball Music Man Edward Van Halen signature model with the original G&G case.
It's also just one of my all-time favorite Michael Jackson songs, regardless of who you are. And I think it was Michael in the early 90s, because you have to understand what I think about Michael is, and Tim's talked about this. For me, Michael Jackson is probably equivalent to his Freddie Mercury love. Like we've talked about this on the podcast many times. And what I find interesting about MJ is the different things the different times and the different ways he did music. He consistently changed. And when I think of early Michael in the 90s, I think of Black or White. That's the first song that comes to mind, and it's very iconic to what he was doing in that moment. And I've said I think that's why people like Elton John, I think that's why Queen, I think that's why even Madonna were able to have that lifespan, whatever it is. They're able to meet the need at the moment in the 90s and the 80s and the 70s and do it well. They never really forgot who they were as people, right? But they did it so good. Cher's another example, right? We talked about Cher on this. And MJ, when I think of iconic early 90s MJ, I think of Black or White, or I think of Man in the Mirror. That's the two that come to mind. And they're both beautiful. They're just great songs. And kind of just very much not surprising to me at this time that was you got Queen, you got MJ, early 90s. It makes complete sense.
Yeah.
With that being said, we're going to go into our 1 year where the same number one hit was on both charts, Tim. 1993, I Will Always Love You, Whitney Houston.
Yeah. And as I said before on this podcast, people at the time didn't know this was a Dolly Parton cover. Certainly in the UK, they did not. It was just a little factoid that a DJ would tell you. You go, oh, really? Dolly Parton? That's weird. But yeah, this was a huge song when it came out.
And I am it's very interesting for me when people say that, because I grew up in a household where we listened to 90s country. So my mom always told me this is Dolly's song. And so we listened to the Dolly version almost more than we listened to Whitney's. Now, we did listen, obviously, and we actively had to hear the Whitney Houston version out in the atmosphere, right? When you're walking through the CVS or whatever it was, we had to hear it, or the radio. By the way, guys, we do have an official someone coming from Boots in the near future, giving you the official knowledge of what's happening in the Boots in the UK.
We may have some boots on the ground.
So anyway, that's so funny because it's called Boots. But anyway, with that being said, I just it's just such a weird double entendre. Now, what's funny about this is this was a number one hit in the UK and the US for 10 weeks straight across the board. It is the longest number one hit that was able to do that in the US and the UK, period. Now, that is to say that Whitney, and that's the first time since we've been here. We've talked about really good artists, right, Tim, across the board. But this is the first one. 1993 gave us number one in both places. Interesting to think that she was able to transcend that in a way that I just haven't seen from other artists.
Yeah, well, it was from the soundtrack of that film, The Bodyguard.
The Bodyguard,
and that was a huge film. A film, obviously, I've never seen.
I've never seen it either, but I know exactly where you're going with this.
Yeah, it was a huge film. And I think it had, from a US perspective, it had Whitney, who was legendary at the time. Well, she's legendary now, but, it was at the peak of her career.
Yes.
And you had the Dolly Parton connection. And then in England, you just had It Was a Great Song.
Yeah, I don't know much about. Now, there is a statement to be said that originally The Bodyguard was written for, what is her name? Barbra Streisand. Have you heard that?
I think I've heard that, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a joke on Glee where they talk about that. Of course they do. On the Whitney Houston episode, Tim's should have predicted that. It's the only reason I know that fact. But with that being said, I Will Always Love You is a beautiful song. And when you hear Dolly sing it and when you hear Whitney sing it, there's two very distinct things, but they're both very good. I understand why Whitney's version was much more, I guess you can say, for the masses. For a backup, but when you hear Dolly sing it, it's beautiful. It's very on point. There's something about her singing it, and you can tell she feels it in a way that she wrote the song. But I will say, Dolly will openly say, "I'll never be able to sing like Whitney," and let her do it again, over and over and over. Like, she's very open about this, and it's just beautiful to see someone take something that. And, you know, me and Tim are Dolly Parton lovers, of course, on this podcast. But just so interesting to see the way that song has been interpreted over time and how it has become associated with her. And even Dolly's like, I can't sing like Whitney. But I love hearing Dolly sing it, too, I will say. I do.
She wrote it to say goodbye to Porter Wagner because she was on the Porter Wagner TV show. Dolly Parton was the girl's sidekick and then became bigger than Porter Wagner and then had to leave because of that. But of course, she was under contract to Porter Wagner. So she writes this song and sings this to him. And he was like, Dolly, that's beautiful, but I'm going to sue you for $2 million for breach of contract.
And that's crazy, but we're going to debate that. But it just goes to show you that it's so interesting, though, when you listen to the lyrics, you know, which is about bittersweet memories, taking this along the way. When you hear that story, it makes so much sense where the song came from. People always assume, you know, I Will Always Love You is like a couple, right, Tim? But when you hear where it comes from, it absolutely makes so much sense how you could sing this to someone who helped develop your career, and you know, you did great things for me, and I will always love you, and I hope life treats you kind. You know, that's the lyric I love the most from I Will Always Love You. And I don't know if this ever resonates with anybody else, but if I was going to get anything tattooed on my body from Dolly, it'd probably be I hope life treat you kind, because that's what I think of as a human. I hope that you have all you've ever dreamed for. I wish your dreams come true. It's such a beautiful statement from someone who was talking to someone who's like, hey, I've outgrown this situation. I just need to move on.
Absolutely. Well, as I said, Porter Wagner did sue Dolly for millions of dollars, and then it really stifled her financially for the first few years of her career. And then later on, Porter Wagner got incredibly sick, and Dolly paid all of his medical bills.
And Dolly's the best ever. Yeah. So I hope life treats him kind, but screw you, Porter Wagner. Dolly's not so that I will always be.
Well, I tell you what, Joy, we've probably got time for 2 more years.
Yes. All right. So 1995, we got distracted. On Bended Knee, Boyz II Men was the U.S. version, and then Say Another Day was E17.
Oh.
In the UK, I don't know what that is.
E17 are 5 quote unquote attractive people standing in a line singing in unison, probably early UK boy band type thing that I'd probably never want to hear ever again.
I don't even know that so there's a few bands from the UK, obviously, that have like made some type of like, you know what I mean? The 5 boy bands, and that's not one of them. I don't know who these people are. On Aid and Kroger, Boyz II Men, we know who Boyz II Men is. It does say E17 wrote the song about the death of a band member's brother. That's why the tone is so melancholy, despite the Christmas outfits and the happy-go-lucky, whatever it is, 5 boys standing together. I will say, Tim, I can say without, like, you know, 5, S Club 7, all these other bands in the UK, I've never heard E17 ever before, ever.
Yeah, I wouldn't seek them out.
Okay, good. All right, well, we're going to move on to 1996. It's the U.S. #1, One Sweet Day, Mariah Carey and Boyz II Men, which, if you know anything about Mariah Carey, she is known to have, like, hits that just keep soaring, right, Tim? In the early 90s, like, it was her thing.
Yep.
And then the UK version to another song that I love, Earth Song, Michael Jackson.
Exactly. I think was it you I was talking to about who played bass on that the other day?
I think so. I don't know what you said, but you were talking about it.
The guy who plays bass on that is a session bass player called Guy Pratt, who famously played bass in Pink Floyd in the post Roger Waters era. He's been involved with lots of different bands, lots of different music, but famously he played bass on Like a Prayer, the Madonna song, and he also plays bass on Earth Song.
I mean, that makes sense, though. Those are great songs. That's what it was. I was sitting, Tim, talking about that. When I think of Mariah. When I think of Madonna, I always think of Like a Prayer. That's like my Madonna thing I hone in on it, and he was talking about this.
Yeah.
So yes, that makes sense. I think that's top tier Madonna for me. Like a prayer is like top, and then everything else is underneath it. Like I don't know how to explain it. That is top tier Madonna to me. It's such a good song.
I would not disagree.
All right. Well, I'm going to give it one more because neither of us knew who Stay Another Day East 17 was. Besides Tim said, I don't care. With that being said, we're going to leave it at 1997. This is a good one. We're going to say Unbreak My Heart. Toni Braxton was the U.S. And then I just have to leave it at this, Tim. Actually, I need to give two of them because it's to become one of the Spice Girls for the UK. I have to say it. And then in 1998 is something about the way you look tonight. Elton John, Candle in the Wind. But then for the UK, it's too much the Spice Girls for 1998. So I just want to put that out there.
Peak Spice era. This is Spice time.
This is the love. This is the love of my life. This is where I want to be. I want to be in peak Spice Girls era always.
Spice World.
They had a whole movie about that, Tim. I think the funniest part is when I see people take the Spice World movie seriously, Tim. Like, I'll see people try to put logic behind the movie, and I was like, there's nothing serious about that movie. And if you're trying to put it as a serious movie, you're missing the point.
Exactly.
All right. With that being said, Tim, what would you like to leave the people with?
Just be kind to everyone that you meet.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
To find the another day to